I have a friend, Thomas, who works as a freelance artist creating booths and installations for event shows. He's quite talented at designing interactive presentations for companies to show off their products. The last time we got together, he told me that he signed on to be a part of something big. Something that he wasn't allowed to talk about due to an NDA. Then, this past week, he included me as a blind carbon copy in the following email. As soon as I finished reading this, I gave Thomas a ring. But the call went straight to his voicemail. I drove over to see him. When I buzzed his apartment, there was no response. His truck's in the parking lot, so at this point, I can't tell if he's not answering anything or if he's just not there. I know I don't have to wait to file a missing persons report, but I'm going to give him a day to call me back, and then I'm taking this to the police. To Charles Fetterman, from Thomas Laurent. Subject: Beyond VantaBlack Project. Mr. Fetterman, my name is Thomas Laurent. I'm one of the artists recruited by Mr. Gustav Sorens for the Beyond VantaBlack, or the BVB project for your company. I won't beat around the bush here, sir. I'm scared out of my wits. When I was first approached and offered the chance to work with the next step in VantaBlack, it was like winning the lottery. VantaBlack's nearly 100% absorption is a fantastic achievement. I assume the only possible next step was perfect 100% light absorption. When I was shown how BVB not only absorbed all light, but even some of the scattered light of the surrounding area, I was astounded. The way it strips away the defining edges of an object, like it's enveloping the thing in a black fog, it's breathtaking. I'm telling you this because I assume you've never actually seen BVB used before. I mean, if you had, you wouldn't have approved the production of it. The color, it's unnatural, sir. It doesn't belong in the world. When we look up at the night sky, we think that we're seeing the pure absence of light, but we aren't. Light reflected off the atmosphere, light from the earth and the moon and other stars. It protects us from the true emptiness of the void. BVB, it is the void. Mr. Fetterman, it extends beyond the boundaries that we give it, and it sucks away the light from everything around it. I'm writing you today because something's happened. Genevieve LeVar and Peter Adotu, we were asked to come up with 3 unique exhibits which showed off the glory of Beyond VantaBlack, which we did. My own art installation remains down in your research department unfinished, where it shall remain, as I had no intention of working further on it. Miss LeVar's idea was the room, the inside of which was completely painted with BVB save for one wall, which was installed with a full-length mirror from floor to ceiling. I've been inside the room, and it's one of the most disturbing things I've ever seen. Imagine stepping into absolute nothingness. Every step, you're unable to determine if your foot is going to touch solid ground or not. To make matters worse, she had the floor installed at a slant, so as you're trying to walk towards the center, you're going up an incline. But you can't see the angle at which it goes. There's a single white light in the center of the ceiling, for the matter of allowing whoever's inside to at least see themselves, otherwise it wouldn't be like existing at all, just pure blackness. Because of the unique properties of BVB, though, you can't actually see the light in the ceiling, even when staring directly at it. Once the door is sealed, the occupant's trapped inside with only their reflection. The sensation is unnerving. Yesterday, after Miss LeVar finished her project, she shut herself inside the room, I presume to see how it looked. I was busy in my own area working on my project. Half an hour later, I heard yelling, hurrying down the hall to her room. I saw a crowd of people surrounding the area, and I was quickly ushered away before I could see what was going on. After things quieted down, I managed to ask one of your engineers what had happened. He told me that someone had gone to check on Miss LeVar and found the poor woman sprawled in the center of her room, bloody and crying. She'd clawed out her own eyes, Mr. Fetterman. Somehow her experience in the room drove her to take her own sight. When I asked Mr. Sorens about it, he told me that Genevieve had had an accident. But if she was taken to the hospital, she'd be okay. As I mentioned, I've been in the room myself. Having gone in later that day, security had cornered off the room, but nobody was monitoring the area, so it wasn't difficult to get inside. The effect of the room's design, with its BVB blackened interior and slanted floor, it's almost instantaneous. Within seconds, I felt nauseated. I had to resort to crawling to reach the middle of the room, all the time watching as my hands disappeared into the black fog. As I went, my need for visual stimuli forced me to keep my eyes on the mirror across the room. Or worse, my reflection was crawling towards me, staring at me, watching me approach. Me watching it approach. I tried to change direction, but I swear to you, it kept crawling toward me, no matter how I tried to orient myself. And the more I looked into the eyes of my own reflection, the less human it appeared. Every second, it was like watching my face smear like a painting. My eyes and cheeks and nose and lips turning runny like melted wax. But the one moment I will never forget, the image seared in my brain of the entire experience, was when I stopped in front of the mirror, staring at my reflection, it staring back at me. And then trying to stand up. As I raised my head, I found myself looking over the shoulder of my own reflection and seeing my face again behind the reflection. Also looking over it. In other words, the face I'd come to accept as my own was not my own. There was someone else between me and the mirror. Someone who, even as the realization came rushing at me, stared up at me with the same horrified expression on his face, its features melting. It was too much. I was ready to follow Genevieve and claw my own eyes out. The only reason I'm here able to tell you about this now is that I let go. I just let myself fall backwards, striking my head on the floor in the process. I blacked out a bit. But I remember rolling down the slanted floor and then hitting the wall. Door must have swung open from the force because when I came to, I could see. I could see out into the hallway. And I dragged myself out. I swear that before I go out and shut the door, I looked back and I saw my reflection, only it was standing in the center of the room, watching me leave. That room is cursed. BVB has turned it into a residence of something sinister and malevolent, but that's not even the half of it, Mr. Fetterman. Peter Adartu's plan was the polar opposite of Miss LeVar's. Rather than a person in a room devoid of light, he had your team build him a full-coverage cloth bodysuit using the BVB process. Now, everything upsetting about LeVar's room one could explain away as a trick of the mind, ignoring the fact that she's currently missing. What happened to Peter, though, I assure you, cannot be explained. His suit was finished a week before Miss LeVar's completed her room. I watched him be helped into the suit for the first time. Team struggled to find where his legs went, then his arms, and once he had all 4 limbs clothed, they still had to find the zipper and hood to completely seal him in. Upon donning the full bodysuit of BVB, the effect was truly astonishing. Peter became a foggy black silhouette. Couldn't tell if you were looking directly at him. He had his workroom installed with almost 24 large flood lamps, drowning out every angle with harsh lighting. And still, the suit cast a shadow. Nobody else in the room has a shadow. But Peter in his room did. Even more amazing, when he moved, he left a trail of blackness, a sort of after-image of where he'd been. I've never seen anything like it. He put the BVB suit on for short intervals every day, increasing the length spent inside of it each time. He told me he enjoyed the way it unnerved people around him. I asked him what it was like inside. He remarked, "I can see you." I could see your bones. I'm not sure if he was joking or serious. Peter spent every workday setting up and taking photos of himself against various backdrops to see how the BVB of the suit affected the pictures. There was one I saw of him standing in a glass box filled with water. The water looked like ink. Peter told me that the way water reflects light, it seems to magnify the BVB's absorption effect. After LeVar's incident, but before I went into her room and experienced the horror of that emptiness firsthand, I rushed to Peter's dressing room to tell him what had happened. He'd been wearing the suit since before I got to work, longest amount of time he'd ever kept it on. He was sitting at his desk, clad completely in the BVB's bodysuit. I told him of LeVar, and he became understandably distraught, asking me to help him out of the suit so we could get to the hospital. At first, I couldn't find the zipper. My hands would disappear in the foggy blackness of the suit's effects. Eventually, I found it and unzipped him. And there was nothing inside, Mr. Futterman. The suit fell away as if draped on a frame of empty air, the hood deflating like a balloon and dropping to the floor along with the rest of the material. Stranger yet, Peter still seemed to be inside the suit. He was pulled up on the floor in an undefinable pile, like a hole in the floor, but I could hear him from inside it. Wherever he was. He sounded terrified. I could hear him start to scream, echoing from out of the suit's interior like he was falling through a great, endless void. His voice never falling off like it does as someone falls away. He was always right there, screaming, calling my name, begging me to get him out. I gathered up the material. I tried shaking it, thinking maybe I could shake him out of the hole, but I dropped it quickly because the way my hands disappeared inside it. I was afraid I'd fall into the suit as well. I immediately hurried to Mr. Sorensen's office across the research area. I told him about Peter. He seemed more put out than concerned, made a quick phone call, and told me to stay put while he marched off to Peter's room with a group of men from security. I sat around in his office for a couple of hours before he finally returned with a gentleman named Mr. Klein from your legal department. They assured me that Peter was all right, that what I had seen was simply the BVB playing tricks on my eyes. They fed me a bunch of hogwash about how my vision hadn't fully adjusted to the bright lighting of the room, and then instructed me to sign a form to waive my rights towards speaking about either of the incidents. It was after they had someone escort me back to my own work area, that I ventured over to Genevieve's room and experienced these horrors firsthand. That was yesterday, Mr. Fetterman. I called in sick this morning with no intention of going in today or any other day out of fear of my own safety. Already my phone's rung at least 20 times this morning from different unknown callers. Mr. Sorensen tried to reach me half an hour ago, left me a cryptic voicemail saying, I hope we don't have to initiate a breach of contract clause. I've looked over my contract with your company, Demtronic, but I still have no idea what he meant by that. It sounds like a threat. There's something evil about beyond VantaBlack, Mr. Fetterman, something Mr. Sorensen does not want people to know about. Mr. Adartu is missing. I'm afraid that I may go missing as well. I hope that I'm not making a grave mistake by trusting you with this information. Please contact me via this email address or using the number provided. Sincerely, Thomas Laurent, Artist for Hire. Hey guys, it's still hot out, like unreasonably hot out. And you know what's great when it's unreasonably hot out? Iced tea. So if you guys like iced tea, check out Ivory Monocle Tea. That's my wife's loose leaf tea thing she does on Etsy. Etsy.com/shop/Ivory Monocle Tea. You can get a whole bunch of different kinds of teas on there. They can be made hot if you're insane, or they could be made cold if you live anywhere near the equator. So check out etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea, and you can get a whole bunch of different kinds of teas, from the fruity kind to the caffeinated kind to the kind that's named after creepypasta things, even one that's named after me, My Dark and Stormy Night. And if you ask, when you order that tea, you can get a little MCP dabbing sticker along with it. Oh, also, I don't think I've ever mentioned this, but I sign all the cards if they're like horror-related teas. So if you ever wanted that, check that out. That's the only place you can get it now. So yeah, check it out. Etsy.com/shop/ivorymonocletea. And as always, I want to give a very big thank you to everybody who supports me on Patreon. Thank you so much. A very big thank you to Jordan Alexander Sanchez, Stephanie Butler, Reaper61167, Bobby Karman, Tristain, Pelton, Chance Burnett, Diana Kraus, Thicky McQuicky, SamaHigh, CrusaderChocobo, SpookyShel, Atomaurus, Grand Moth the Milky, Big Smoke 369, Captain Scurvy, SaltyIrishPoet, Estebean, Brayden Morris, Nate Kuhl, HorrorFan1212, Hour Minute Second Time, Kyle Reznak, David Martin, Scare-ington the Unkempt, Robert Malcolm, Angelus, Spanky, Snoochie Boochie, Seclude, Lupita Galvin, That Creepy Chick, Tyler Fletcher, Merxenum, Red Shadow Cat, Xavier the Cheyenne, Demix, Sean Cadieu-baker, 6 Gay Rats in a Trenchcoat, Turtleman, Rob Like Sharp Things, Cryolinian, Xavier Graphius, Lord Life's Best, Goring Tremagacy, Maria Walker, Emily Mitchell, Crazy Kid, Mr. Marcus Blitz, Aka Limchok, Dirt Diver 030, Matt Bach, Voice of Sand, Coffee Zombie, Hidden Tiger, Shelly J, Jeremy H, Psychomel, Nana, Deleted Account, Melted Lake, Tali Sue, William King, Darth Miver, Michael Ortiz, Titanic Aries, Bardo Hawk 764, Lambda M98, Harley, Sashi Suzaku, Cronut 509, Kaylee Ambrose, Suji Campbell, Stricken, Freddy Krueger, Happy Birthday Jason Wilson, Lisa Cottrell, Caspian, Hades Nephew, Tater Chip, Acid System, Prozac and Pancake Appreciation Society, Benjamin Welverick, Cryptic Nightmares, Kiwi the Sloth, Fester's Lampshade, Sky Harbor, Nico Kyle, Rafael Rodriguez, The Ginger Bros, Aaron Stormcrow, Daniel Polson, and Corey Kenshin. As always, thank you guys so much, because you guys help me do everything that I do here. You guys help pay authors for stories and commission stories and do everything that I can do to make this channel and make this podcast the best it could possibly be. So thank you all for supporting me here. And as always, everyone, sweet dreams.